on my other laptop because I have audio problems. Yeah. And
Why you
oh,
share, how to be sure that as everyone able to install KNIME
yeah, yeah,
on their
yes,
system?
I would go through the installation process.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
So that was my idea. And now I share my screen. Yeah, I hope we can see. So I currently work as a data analyst with the Continental. And yeah, basically my job is just to everyday data things, data management, also do some statistical things, also anomaly detection and a lot of couple of things also. So this will be what I plan to cover today. Um, First, yeah, the introduction to KNIME, basic workflow creation, then we move into creating our first workflow. And then we talk about data import, export, and working with CSV files, Excel files. And last, I just give a simple example, exercise, or more or less, it's not compulsory, but just to practice. So let's start with, yeah, the KNIME workflow. So basically, we have a lot of, data analytics platform, and I guess Power BI is a very popular framework. We also have Tableau. We have a lot. Google Studio, and yeah, KNIME happens to be one of them. Uh, Maybe not as popular as the others, but it's very nice, very easy to work with. And if I would go to their website, just to have an idea of of KNIME, yeah, we see that it makes sense of data together. It's the most intuitive and safe way to work with data and AI. Well, because it works in a kind of workflow nodes connecting to each other, to one another. And then you can progressively arrange your pre-processing or post-processing stage of your data. And it's easy, like I said, and there are a lot of already pre-installed package nodes, or let me just put it like that, you can use to achieve a task. Well, of course, you don't have to be very strong in programming. Like some of us would always prefer to do things in Python or R or other platforms too. But in general, platforms like this are just low code or no code if possible. So let's go into, yeah, there are a lot of the overview and the applications of KNIME. There are a lot, and as you can see, if you go to their website, you can find a lot of nice information about, the its overview and its application. So it helps, you can derive a lot of insights from your data, without even doing anything. And yeah, it has a good user interface, and which we would see in the next minute. So for download, to just get started, like I said in the file, in the document I sent, you can just click on download the KNIME workflow, and you see a form. It's not compulsory actually, so you can even leave it blank. But I think you have to more or less like you have to tick. I think you have to tick the second option or so, and then you can click on download. So let me untick it. You won't be able to download. So you have to tick this box, or it's optional. You can fill the information. So you download. You click on download, and you see also, depending on your operating system, You see Windows, Linux, Mac. I use Linux most of the time, and so I already downloaded mine, and I guess you also downloaded yours. So I won't be downloading again because I've downloaded it. And also, if you look at the document we sent in the installation process for Windows, it's not difficult, just install directly. For Linux, you can just install it via your terminal, via the codes some of the bash the scripts I sent via the command line, and it's just easy to get started. So I would open my KNIME framework, and of course, we would just get started also immediately. Yes, since I use Linux, it's a bit different because I have to also go through the command line. But yeah, it's easy actually. Yeah, if you're using Linux, you know what I mean. If you download the file, you see you download it as yeah, something like, you see it here as a .tar dot whatever .tz format, and then you have to unzip it, and yeah, when you do the installation, it's also the same also with Mac, similar process. So CD, Windows doesn't, Windows, you don't have to do all of this, but of course for Linux-based systems, you have to. So I'm opening my KNIME, it's a version 5.32, and usually when you open KNIME for the first time, you see something like this. So you want to define a workspace, and workspace basically just means the more or less like the root folder of everything you'll be working with in KNIME. You can use this as a default and do not ask again. You can create multiple workspace if you like, but yeah, it depends on how you want to structure your work. So you launch, and then our KNIME opens, and yeah. So basically, so the idea of introducing KNIME to us is not, it's just to have a broad understanding of the platform. There are a lot of things you can do personally, while you get used to, while you're just practicing, and you find a lot of interesting things. For example, this is the welcome page of the KNIME platform, and you see there are a lot of communities. There are blogs where you can also check once in a while to see recent updates, or maybe there are already new additions or subtractions, depending on the version also. And yeah, just you can find them. We also have KNIME has also a very big forum community where you can ask questions also if you run into problems or something like that. Yeah. And if you look at this interface, you find um, quite quite a number of panels. I'll start from this left top panel. Here is just you find the KNIME Explorer. So this is the workspace um, that so when I launched KNIME, that particular workspace you see that I clicked on is what you see here. So it's the local workspace. And then you also find a couple of example workflows. And this comes with the KNIME software itself. It's just a way to get started also. So I didn't do any of these, it's pre-installed. So what it means is that it's just an example of workflows. So basic examples. For example, if you see here, it says building a simple classifier. And when you double click, it opens. Here is the section, this center part, you can always drag or, yeah. So this center part you see is where you will be doing building the workflow, creating the nodes and whatever. And you see here data reading. So I mean, before I go deep into explaining some of these nodes, let's continue with the interface then, because these are just some of the things that comes with KNIME. So it's a way to also explain without anyone telling you how to do it. And you can get started very quick. So when you want to create a project, it's very easy. You know, you come here, you can choose any workspace. You can come here, create file. You can import or export. You can create new, it depends. But before we go into that, let's just continue. At this middle, you find work recommended nodes. So when you start building the workflow, KNIME has a way of, recommending nodes to you, something like that. And it depends on the project, probably some of the workflows you have done in the past or you are currently working on. And it's going to recommend nodes for you. So these are just recommendations, nothing. And here, this is where we have the node repository. And here we have all the nodes that we would be working with. They are located in this bottom left corner panel. And as you see, there are a lot of things you can explore. If you don't know the exact name of the node, you can search here. This is a search bar. For example, if you want to read a table, you can just put read, and you see a lot of nodes, Excel reader, file reader, CSV reader, and a lot of things that has this read keyword. Also database, you can read database from KNIME. And yeah, so this is just an example, but you can also explore, for example, this is scripting and Python. I would talk about how to install some of these.
Yeah, I'll call him.
Um, okay, I'm going to show you how to install. So at this center here is where you'll be building your workflow. Here you just have your outline. So everything you do here would be displayed here. This is just a bigger everything you see here would be shown here. So the result from processing the nodes. So you find them displayed here. And sometimes it's always tables, data, or whatever. Here at this corner, uh, this is just an extra panel that, for every node you want to work with, there is also a documentation. And it's very good to always look at the documentation and see the description rather of the node. What it expects, the input, the output, how to the configuration and things like that. And at this top, we find file, edit, view, node, help. So sometimes when you install KNIME, it doesn't come with all of the, it doesn't come with all the nodes. And sometimes you have to install these nodes, right? And so what you have to do is you can come to file, and you see here, install KNIME extension. So the extensions are just probably, yeah, they're extensions that you need for some predefined nodes. So nodes comes with certain extension. So when you click on install KNIME extension, you would find some things, and then you can easily look for some of the extensions. Here you can, for example, here you see 9 nodes development tools. or you can check what you want, and you can always install them. So these are just in cases where you don't find the nodes already in the installed platform. For example, if I want to install, let's say, a, um, a JavaScript node extension, you can search, and um, yeah, I guess it's going to take some time. And you can see that you can already tick some of them, and you can just click here. When you click on, for example, let's say KNIME JavaScript, yeah, here, you click on Nest. And when you click on Nest, you, I think it shows you the progress or also, yeah, and then you can click Finish here, and then it installs. I'm not going to click Finish because I don't need this particular extension. So there are a lot of extensions you can think of. So when you start working with KNIME, you know what you need. And yeah, that's just it. Nothing much. If you don't find an extension yet, then maybe it doesn't exist. Of course, KNIME, the recent updates, they keep doing a lot of updates and also adding more and more functionality. So yeah, you can also go to the community or the forum and also you can also make a complaint or ask if there are possible extension for what you want to achieve. So edit, view, node, these are just basic things. Yeah, if you want to execute a node, you can use F7. F7 is a shortcut for, to execute a node. If you want to configure the node, F6. So if you want to execute all the nodes in your workflow, you can just press Shift and F7 and other shortcuts and other things, which for us are not really important for now. So now let's go back. Now we are done with the first two parts. I'm sure we have a broad, at least an overview. We have just an overview of the platform itself, the installation, the setup, and the interface, how it looks like. And now let's go into, yes, so let's understand the KNIME interface. Okay, we have talked about that. The node repository, yeah, we have also talked the workflow couch. Okay, so basically everything you see here is what we call the nodes. So here you see, these are the nodes. And well, these are in a way the extensions, and for every extension we find a kind of pre-extensions, and then you get to the node. So I give an example. Here we have CSV reader, and if you want a node, like what it means is I need a node that can read CSV files, and then you can just click CSV, or maybe you can search for CSV, and you can see that we have the read. So the CSV reader is under the read repository, something like that. So, and here we also have the write, CSV writer. And when you want to read CSV, you use this node. When you want to write CSV, that is, you want to export CSV, you use this node. So every node has its functionality. And now back to this panel, as you can see, I mentioned at this corner, it helps to describe, here you just see a description of the node. So when you click on the node, you always get this documentation. So what you see here now is the documentation for this node, CSV reader. And it reads CSV files to auto-guess the structure of the file, blah, blah, blah. So we'll talk about that in a minute when we start to read data. But always read this documentation because it gives you better understanding of the node you're working with. So yeah, sometimes you don't have to, but it's always good to be well informed, so that when so that you can just do the right thing. Yeah, so For example, this is color manager. You can see now this is the documentation for color manager. Um, partitioning here, this is documentation. The input table is split into two partitions, row-wise, e.g. train and test data. The two partitions are available at the two output ports. So, for example, if you want to build a machine learning model, linear regression, and you need a test or train split data, then you know that you need this partition. And then you feed one of that is the train set to the model, and then the other one for the test. So that's it. And yes. So let's create our first workflow. And
Excuse me, I have a
yes,
question.
okay.
Yeah, I think the interface I have here is different from yours. I don't know whether I made a mistake.
No, it's not a mistake because you're using Windows, right?
Yes.
The interface, yes. So, okay, you're correct. But if you look closely, you find that everything is just still, I mean, you'll find everything there.
Okay.
Um, well, because of operating systems, I think the interface might differ slightly. Yeah, to be frank with you, because I use Linux. I, I've used Windows. I've used also Windows. I I also found the interface to be like this. But which version are you using? Which version of KNIME did you download? Is it the latest one or so? Or
Yeah, the latest one.
okay, when you look at your work when you look at the interface, somewhere around, I think to the at the left side, you should see something that has to do with node repository or something. Here, you will surely find something.
There's nothing
Um,
like that. I only see recent local space,
to,
KNIME Community Hub.
oh, okay, then let me. I have
Maybe
nine
I
more.
can maybe I can share my
Yeah,
screen.
yes,
Just
I think that is because he has not created a file.
yes, he has not created a file. Yes, I was
mm,
about saying that too. So okay, you can okay, without wasting much time, I try to create a file. No, not really a file, but you can create a workflow. Somewhere you can just can you tell me can you send a picture, just a picture to the chat? Maybe I can see exactly. Maybe a picture will do.
Yeah. So if you
okay.
encounter any error,
Yes, just drop it
just
in.
post the picture on then it will be easier
Yeah,
to
it
guide.
shouldn't be a problem actually, It's the same. I've worked also on Windows too. So let's go into building our first workflow. And the idea is to generate. So before we do that, I would also advise you to look at the example workflows, because what I will just say here is what I already have in mind, right? And there are a lot of things you can also learn from just looking at the example workflows. And as you can see, there are a lot: basic, example, customer intelligence, retail, social media. And for every of these examples, you also find, workflows. For example, yeah, this is just one I can show you. So it's a simple model training for classification. And if you know a basic pipeline for building a classification model, what do? You read your data and you do a test splits, you train the model and you test the model and you do a kind of visualization. And this is just the workflow. So in this case, in this example, we have built a simple classification KNIME workflow. Yeah. But because I won't be working with these pre-installed examples, um, we would just be working with a toy data set that I have already on my local system, on my local machine. So you can also structure your work like this if you like. Very nice. Yes, so if you are very colorful, if you are the colorful type and you like to, do a lot of things, you can see also, you can add colors and things to you can make it look nice, design it any way you want. So let's build our first workflow. I'm not going to do it under the example. I will just do I have a data set, and the data is called, yeah, it's just a simple data set. It's a sample superstore. It's a CSV file I got um, from the internet.
Austin,
Yeah.
many people said they are using Windows. Is it possible for you to guide them with Windows so that is it possible for you to switch to Windows? If not, it's fine.
Okay. I have Windows, but it's the materials, everything I
Okay.
got
Yeah,
it on
okay.
my
It's
Windows.
fine. If it's
But
fine, it's
okay,
fine.
in the next section, I would work with Windows. But what I can also do is after this class, I can make a short video of I would explain also the same thing I've just done with this while using the Windows
And
uh,
just
the platform, the KNIME for Windows. But it's more or less the same. But yeah, just sorry if it's completely different, but like I said, I've used KNIME also in Windows, but I don't see too many difference.
Dr. Austin,
Just understand what we are doing. For the setup,
Uh,
you don't have to worry about it. Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
think
see that for Windows, I think that
Maiwa
for
is trying to ask
Windows
question.
is slightly different.
Yeah.
This center bar is not showing. It's completely.
Okay.
So you have to pull the Excel reader or the CSV reader to the middle. So this way,
Yes. That is what you do. Sometimes you can pull it or you can double click. Yes.
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's okay to explore it. I mean, it's just one of the things when you install a software for the first time. So just try to from what I've explained, you already have a picture of what you should expect. So even though it doesn't have this exact layout, but at the end of the day, you know that you need an environment like a kind of panel like this where you put the workflow, and somewhere you can also find documentations if possible, and also see there are places you can drag, like this. So it could be that they are hidden probably by default. Yeah. Then you can create more of these panels like this, something like this. But
Dr.
you don't have to have all of these panels per se.
Dr. I'm sorry. So I think one of the major issue we are having in common for Windows. So I see Ewere sent one of the screenshots. If you go up to the right, you can click on menu, then you can switch to classic user interface. Currently, what you have is displaying is the classic user interface.
Ah,
That will give
okay.
us good My Explorer, workflow, coach, and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
You're right. You're right. Yeah. Click on, you should click on menu, right?
yes, it's
Yes.
at the top right.
Yes. At the top right, click on menu and then switch the interface. Yes, you're right. Yes, thank you. Yeah. Is it currently by default in classic or classic user interface? Yeah, you can just change the interface to see if it's going to come out like this. I guess I did what you just mentioned now, but it's a long time, so probably I didn't occur to me. But on my Windows, this is how it works. This is just the exact layout. Probably I changed it from that menu. Yeah, something like that.
Works on window with that interface.
Yes, at the
Yeah.
menu. At the top right, you see menu, then try to change. I think there are places where you see classic view
Yes.
or other view. I cannot remember.
Yeah, I did that. It really worked good.
Okay. So now let's build our first workflow, and based on our content for today, we just want to start very simple. We want to of course, I've explained generally the nodes, the workflows, and how they interact, but I'll talk about that also. Okay. I will talk about all of this when we start building the workflow. Yeah. So the first workflow, yes, let's build our first workflow. So you can just right click, you can click on new KNIME workflow. You can also create groups if you want. And groups, when I mean groups, when you're working on probably different workflows, but they belong to one group, you can create groups. For us, we just want to build one workflow. So let's say first workflow. Yes, I can save it directly to my local workspace. You can create multiple workspace if you like. You can structure your work, just depends on what suits you. So this is the first workflow, and you see it's empty, completely empty. And now let us do, in general, before we start to to talk about how these nodes and workflow interact, we have to use some examples. So let's read the data. The data is from Kaggle, and it's called the Superstore sample Superstore. It's just a toy data set where we have that shows some I think some logistic information about sales of of some equipment, you know. We have ship mode, it's a shipping logistic data, second class, first class. We also have segment, consumer, home office, or whatever. There are a lot of them. It's a very huge, thousands of data, 9,000 or so. Country is the United States. I think it's only United.
Your microphone is mute. Maybe you can unmute yourself.
You muted.
Ah, my God. Yeah, sorry. Where did I stop? Completely forgot. Yeah. Uh, Was I muted for long?
Not that long.
It's,
Not that
it
long.
was not for long. Sorry, I was one who made the mistake. I want
Okay.
to
Yeah, I was surprised that
yeah,
yeah, okay, no problem. So
fresh
I
to
just go
find
through it.
out.
So I was explaining this data, and I said it's a sample Superstore data I got from Kaggle. And the idea is to use this data to explain to us how to start a basic KNIME workflow. And then we have some equipment that are shipped within the United States, and we have the ship mode. Of course, we have the standard class, first class, segment, country, the United States. We have different cities, different states, postal code, region, categories, subcategories. We have the sales, we have the quantity of the product, we have the discount, and we have the profit. So now the reason why KNIME, from my own point of view, is very good for data analytics, especially for pre-processing stage, is because of its flexibility and the way the workflow can you can simplify things. Then you can probably add you can advance your processing stage to maybe Power BIs, or probably you want to create a project or an app, or you want to publish some of these uh, yeah, graphs, plots, or things then. But for a start, I think KNIME is very good, to just get a rough or a kind of overview of the data. So without talking too much, it's a CSV file. So let us see if we can get the CSV reader. So we need the CSV reader. You can drag it. No, I didn't drag it well. You can drag it, or you can double click. So anyone. So you can either drag or double click. Now, you see node 1, by default, it comes with this numbering, node 1. And typically what you want to do is to label your node, because when you already have like too many nodes here, it becomes, cumbersome, and you get confused. You don't know what one node is doing, especially when you have the same node. For example, you are doing some data, you want to filter some things from your data, and probably you have to do it in 2-3 steps. You understand? That means we need 2 or 3 of these filtering nodes. And then if you don't label, or if you don't describe what this particular node is doing, then you're not sure which particular node is doing this task. So here you can just say, read my file. Yeah, of course, it's obvious because CSV reader is for reading file, but read my data. It depends. And how to get there, just you can hover your mouse from where remember it was node 1, just hover your mouse and double click, and that's all. It brings something that you can type. Yes, and then let us read our data. So now, before I even double click, so if you're not sure, you can also read the documentation, but it's clear to us. We just need to import the data from our data set, from my local machine. So in the node, you can configure the node by using F6, or you can just double click. So when you double click, you can go straight to the configuration, or you can right click. You can also see the shortcut F6. And when you click on configure, um, when you click on configure, you just want to locate the data, and I think the data is here. Yeah, this is the Superstore CV. And then when you open it, we find the data. And we can do a lot of processing or pre-processing or transformation rather, because, well, some things might not be as what we'd expect. And what you see here is by default. By default, KNIME would do an auto-detect the data type of every column, and sometimes it might misclassify, so you might have to correct that. So if you go to transformation, you see the columns, the ship mode, segment, country, just like we discussed. And then you see the type. So these are the assigned types to these columns. And of course, the ship mode has to be string, postal code up to state. We have the postal code, which is number, integer, but you can decide to make it string if you like, because, yeah, of course, integers are no decimals. So probably we can leave it as integer. You can, if you say, oh, I don't want integer, I want to change the type, you can just click on it and say, okay, I want it to be as a string. And then you can see that now it's changes from I to S. So now string. And the sales is double. Yeah, it's decimals. Yeah, that's the according to the definition of how this data type of this data type. When it's a number integer, it's without decimal. And we also see, I see also somewhere, I think in the postal code, I see number long. So here is a 64-bit. Probably this is always very useful for something like maybe timestamps, that you have really long information, and then you don't want to lose information. But for the normal number integer is just 32-bit. So I think it's, for us, for a standard digit, I think it's fine. I mean, just for us to know. So the quantity would always be an integer, yeah, and everything, sales, quantity, and the discount. No, sales, discount, and profit are decimals. And as you can see, the D here stands for decimals. So you can also do a couple of advanced settings if you like. You can maximum number of columns. You can set the maximum number of columns. By default, it's set to 8,000. And you can limit the data. Now, why sometimes I don't like this option, because you could have 100,000 data row, and what this configuration would do is just to limit, because KNIME by default it tries to scan the rows. That is, in this case, it's scanning the first 10,000 rows, and it's using this information, to do an auto. It's assigning some of these data types automatically, or other yes, other things to the settings. So sometimes, for example, this data is, you can see it's just going to limit it to 10,000. But you can always update that later if you feel like, okay, I want KNIME to be more exposed to. I think my screen is not sharing anymore, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, because my other system is suddenly, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I have to join again. Yeah, I'm really sorry. Yeah, sorry. I have to just join the meeting again with my other system. Okay, give me a few seconds. I lost my internet in the other laptop. Okay. Okay, now I'm back. Yes, I'm sorry about that. Now I share my screen again. Okay, so quickly, yeah, we're on time. So now, as I was saying, so here when you load your data, KNIME does this auto scan, and KNIME would use the first 10,000. KNIME would use the first. Is it displaying?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. KNIME would use the first 10,000 rows to do some of the default settings. So I can decide my data is, I think, about 9,000, so I think 10,000 is fine. So KNIME uses the old data set. Sometimes they are combination of different data types in one column, so KNIME can properly assign the correct data type. Otherwise, it can lead to also wrong data type. So yes, and that's just it. Encoding, we don't have to do anything. We have UTF-8, and yeah, we don't need 16 as far as I know. So you just click OK, and then at this there is a button here. It's it's just to execute one node, F7, which we already, as we see from the shortcut. So it's either you click on the F7 or you just click on this. And you see it loads. And remember, at this console here is where you see where you monitor the result of your process node. And you can right click and also click on file table, and then you will see the table. So what you see here is the data set. And basically, yeah, it's nothing more than what we have described. And so the next step would be, okay, what do I want to do
So,
next?
there's a question that's, how did you get the data?
Yeah, okay, yes.
Because don't even have, do they have the data?
Yeah, of course, I don't, for the purpose of teaching, I would have also sent it later so that we don't, so that you can focus on my explanation, you understand, rather than,
Then I would say that for everyone, the video we provided,
yeah,
just use this
we'll
time
send,
to just pay attention to follow.
yes,
You don't
just
have
pay
to
attention.
practice with him because that will be confusing. And then we will definitely share the video on YouTube afterwards, which you can use to practice.
Yeah. I'll also drop the data to the link to the data.
Okay.
Or I can just post it on GitHub and I send you the link so you can grab it from there. Okay, so yeah, if you feel like you want to grab the data, it's not difficult. If you go to just if you're very curious to know, you can go to Google and you can type the sample superstore, and then you can even see this. Or yeah, I guess sample superstore sales data set. Yeah, and you can find it on Kaggle. So I can drop this link even on this on the chat now. So if you're very if you really want to follow and you feel you can manage, yeah, you can grab the data now. Yeah, I sent it already. So let's just continue. So now we are done with our first workflow. This is the first step. And the next step would always be some pre-processing, like transformation stage, as we would always do. If you're also conversant with Power BI, you just want to change data type, or in this case, we don't, or you want to rename something. Let's just think about, what do we want to achieve? So first of all, let's start by saying, we want to do a kind of summary statistics, right? We just want to see what's going on with our data. So we can, yeah, just statistics, then we can click on statistic view, I think. Let's see. Let's see what this will do. The view can be accessed via the open view in the not view. I don't think this one would do what I like. I think this is what I actually made, not the statistic view. I can just replace it. So this is what so this node calculates statistical moments like such as minimum, maximum, mean, standard deviation, variance, median, overall sum, number of missing values, and the row count across all numeric columns. And yeah, I think this is what we need. It also it plots some histogram. Yes, so now this is where the interaction works. So when you take this, you just hold on to your um, mouse, you stretch, you stretch it. And then what you have to you have to stretch it to to ensure that it's connected. So when it's connected, you're building the workflow, the flow. So the information is flowing from one node to the next. So now for the statistic node, of course you can just double click directly to go to configure, or I can just click on F6 on my machine, so depends on what you want. And now what we see here is we see a lot of things. We see options, we see something like two boxes. One to the left is red, one to the right is green. And then what we want to see is what do we want to, which of the columns do we want to do a summary statistics of? So here we can enforce exclusion. Here we can also enforce inclusion, depending on what we want. And yeah, I think from what I see, it's only the columns that are numbers that we can calculate this statistical moment, because these other ones are strings. I guess we can also take quantity out and something like this. So nothing much. Histogram, you can also set your histogram to whatever height you want. We don't, for now, we are not talking about flow variable. So it's just it. And you can click on, and you can run. So when you run it, when the node is done executing, then you see it always displays. You always see this on the node monitor, which is just at this bottom right. And you can also right click and for the statistic table, you see for the sales, for the column sales, we have the minimum to be 0.444, and we have the maximum to be around 22,000 and whatever. So we have the mean, we have the standard deviation, which is quite big, 623. We have the variance. And here in the histogram, we see the distribution of this sales column. And also with quantity, we see that it's between 1 and 14. And we also find some other interesting information. So here we have a number of missing rows, zeros, everything. There are no missing, no nons, no infinity or whatever. Median, no, we didn't include that because of memory. But you can also if you say, okay, I would like to calculate the median, I think you can also somewhere configure it here and you can calculate the median value. But there is something here to note, it's computational expensive. So depends on, if it's important otherwise. But for the purpose of teaching, I don't think, just to show us. So at a glance, this is what we have. And yeah, what else? There are also not the nominal histogram table we can actually. So now the thing is when we have, yeah, we have these ship modes that are strings, and then KNIME also in a way we can also see this it can draw histogram or bar chart or on these variables that are not um, numbers. And here you see that in the shipping mode, we find the distribution of the mode of shipping. We have the standard class, we have the second class, we have the first class, we have same day. So this also is a nice information. So, without codes, at least you can also see what we see that the standard class is the most, it's mostly used. And for the segment, we also have 3 country, 1, because it's only for the United States. City, none, because city is, yeah, it's not able to, to categorize. Probably we have a lot of cities and yeah. And also for for other columns, just a view, you can have a look. And from my own side, what is more interesting is how do we continue to explore uh, this this workflow. So think about we want to do some filtering or we want to, yeah. So in as much as we are also talking about KNIME, but most of the things we do is not really, most of the idea, um, data analytics itself comes from our general understanding about some statistics, a little bit of mathematics and things like this, or also understanding the problem you want to solve. So basically think about, okay, you're given a task and, or you're working on a couple of, you're working in a sales department or whatever, and you would like to do some analytics about probably sales in a particular region or state, or you want to see, exactly, the quantity the quantity of goods in a certain state, more or less like you want to analyze this data by groups. So, but let's talk about the filtering node and also maybe sorting or whatever. But let's talk about filtering node. If we look at this data, this is just for statistics, right? And let's go back to our data. So if we somehow we want to probably filter, we want to create this workflow such that we are able to specify cities or states or even both. How can we ensure that we can analyze this data based on specific information? For example, your boss wants you to get information for city of Kentucky or California or Texas, or says, okay, I want more than 2, 3 cities or whatever, or yeah, something like that, or a region, or in the south or in the west. What do we do? So let's look at a row filter. Okay, no. So the row filter, it's yeah, here is the row filter. And what you see here as the row filter, it's the node filters an input table according to the given filter criteria. So each criterion can target the row numbers, row ID, or cell value of a row. And so what we just want is, okay, we want to filter this data based on particular information. And let's say we want to filter, yeah, here we can add the criterion. Let's say we want to filter based on state, for example, and then we have to include the name of we want to filter for the city of Texas. And here, this is the operator. So when in KNIME, when you are defining a criterion, we want to find the state that is equal to Texas. So probably if you're dealing with for a column that is a number data type, you can also say, okay, I want maybe, we can also try that later, but just for explanation, quantity less than or greater than or equal to a particular amount, and you can filter based on that criteria. But let's start with state, and we filter for the equal to, we filter for the city of Texas. So yes, when we run it, now you can now see even from the node monitor that the state as the data has been filtered for only Texas. So we can also view our table, new table, and we see this Texas. And what I really want to explain is not really about filtering, but how this workflow in general can work even for any given city, state rather. But think about, we start adding more nodes, which we would do, just think about some pre-processing things and think about how we can, make the code more dynamic such that we don't have to manually impute this filtering criteria, for every node. So let's say we want to do something else. Could be anything as far as I can tell. Let's say we want to, yes, we also want to filter based on, in the city of Texas, we want to focus on, let's say, okay, the region is really specific to to the state, Okay, let's see if we can also, for the city of Texas, for the Texas state, we can also filter cities, right? Let's say we want to filter Dallas, and here also we can also use the same row filter, and so we can just connect this, and then we can now define our criterion. Let's say city, and let's say first thing. Oh, I hope I'm correct. Okay, yeah. So now we see city of Houston for for Texas State. Now, but sometimes it's always the case that we have more than one condition, right? And we don't always want to use too many nodes. I always try as much as possible to avoid using too many nodes. I mean, just make sure that you work with I mean, just you can optimize your workflow, something like this. Now, there are different types of row filter. So we have the row filter, which is by default what we have here. But we also have a rule-based row filter. And there are also rule-based filter you can reference, but let's work with this rule-based filter. And with this rule-based filter, I think we can achieve this too, just in this one filter. And we can just grab our workflow. Of course, you can play around with, you can play around. I didn't label, I forgot. So summary, you can just name here, you can say filter state. Yeah, and here you can say filter city. So far we have not written any code. All of these things are just based on this workflow. Now in the rule-based filter, let me click on the documentation. The node takes a list of user-friendly rules and tries to match them to each row in the input table. If the first matching has a true outcome, the row will be selected for inclusion. Otherwise, if the first matching rule yields false, it will be excluded. If no rule matches the row will be excluded. So, I mean, what this just means is you can manually impose your rule. Here, we cannot because by default, we can only just choose. Okay, I think, wow, this looks interesting though. I never tried this because it's a long time, but it looks like we can even add multiple criteria here. So let's see if I can filter for the state of Texas and for the city of Houston. But also we'll still talk about the rule-based. Yeah, so I think in the previous versions that I work with, you can only use, that is 4 point something. You can only use one criteria. Here you can have more than one criteria. So let's run and to see. Okay, interesting. So now we filter based on state and city, Houston. The exact same thing we achieve by using these two nodes. So here we can now put filter state and city. Okay, quite interesting. I'm also just saying this for the first time because I think in the new KNIME, like I said, the KNIME, the version, we keep getting new versions, and for every new version, you see better improvements. Yeah, so we can just easily delete this. We don't need it because we have achieved it in just one node. So what it means is that we can continue to add more criteria, as you can see. You can add more and you can add more. But we will talk about where it gets really, you know, complicated. So, but for now, let's stop at two criteria. Yes, criteria. This is what we have for the state and we have for the city. Cool. So this works. Now let's go to the rule-based. So the rule-based is also in similar fashion the same, but instead of just grabbing the friendly user interface to just the same way we add the criterion, you can do this by just writing a set of commands. So the idea of KNIME being a low code, a no code, and a low code is what I'll try to explain. So if you feel like, okay, I just want to write a set of code or command or something, then fine. If you feel like, okay, I don't want to even write one code at all because I don't like to write codes, then you can just stick with the other row filter and keep adding multiple criteria as you wish. But in this case, we can also adapt. Sometimes, I mean, it's possible in previous versions, like I know, in 4.8 or something, this is 5 point, I see. In the row filter, I can only add one. You can only filter based on one criterion. And usually I like to use the rule-based filter because I can add multiple filtering criteria. So in this case, we see that these are the functions. You have, I mean, it's well described. You can click on it and you see, okay, left, less than right. For numerical values, the natural ordering will be used. For string values, the lexicographic ordering will be used. And so, and yeah, in this case, we want to have multiple filters. So let's see if we can adapt, the same state and city filter here in this rule-based row filter. So let's see what we need. There are some templates which we like, but you can just double click on it and you see here we will write the first step, the same the same way we can we write, conditions, in standard programming language. If there are multiple conditions, you say these and these, especially if you want both to be satisfied. If you want one, you can just use all.
Austin, can you give me a pause? Mohammed, you have a question?
Okay.
Sir, sorry to interrupt the class.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask regarding the node you just created. After can you bring down this? Yes, the CSV reader, which contains all the data sets.
Yes.
Yes. Then you now created the node filter
Yes.
and also the other filter
Yes.
again. So I don't know if this filter, the first filter, can either be linked to these statistics.
Okay, cool. Good question. So now when you work with, let's say flowchart, let's use the word flowchart. Forget about what KNIME is. So you think about flowchart as, it's a sequence of information that is passed from one node to another. It's something like hierarchy thing. So as long as one arrow is not directly connected, as long as two nodes are not directly connected, they cannot interact. Yes, it's possible in this case, but what you have to do now is you have to grab this and extend it here. But something would happen. The other arrow that was coming from the CSV reader directly to statistics disappears because by default, only one, a node can only accept, one incoming arrow. You understand? So
Yes,
it doesn't have to be, CSV reader directly. You can, as a matter of fact, you can even say, okay, let me drag another statistics node and do it differently for this row filter. So why, yes, I think by explaining it like this, you really understand what really this flow of information is, right? And the moment I try to grab this back here again, the other one would disappear. You understand? So you can decide to say, okay, let me go back and take another statistics node. Probably I want to look at both, for after filtering or before filtering. And you can come here and you can extend, right? So you get your summary. So this summary statistics only gives you the summary statistics after you are filtered by the state and city. And the summary statistic gives you, of course, for the overall for the complete data. Yeah. So yes, so let's continue. Let's proceed. But always don't forget to name your node. For me, I have this bad habit of not naming nodes because maybe I know I can remember but sometimes if it's a very short, small workflow, maybe you don't. But if you're really working, if your workflow is really deep, you know what I mean, then you might have to name or label your node. So let's proceed with the rule base. So the rule base is very useful. And fortunately, in the new um, 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 in this new version, rather, you can now filter you can have multiple filtering condition on just the row filter, which is a very good thing. Formerly, it was not possible. You have to, yeah. So let's see. What do we want to do? So we want to do two things. We just want to filter the state, all the states that are Texas, and all the cities that are Houston, Houston, Houston or Houston, yeah. So we can come here, but before we go into, let's just play around with, like, for example, these are just some templates. Let me explain what this means. So what this means is I can just delete first. So the idea is what you have in between the dollars is the name of the column. For example, I want to pick state. Okay, I have to remove $1. So by default, when you can just come here and once you double tap, you see you get your columns, it appears. And then we want to, in this case, we are not dealing with numbers. We want to deal with um with strings. So we can use like, because if you look at this, okay, maybe I shouldn't touch this. Let me just go directly to the template that KNIME already has for string. So I come here, I delete this, I go to my state. Yeah, this is what I want. And then I want to filter for Texas. And then you only want to include true matches. So I think you want the rows that matches with Texas, that match with Texas. So when we run, you see easily that the state also has been filtered. But of course, this is just one condition, right? And so remember, depends. If I decide to use false here, then what it means is that I can exclude the true matches. So in this case, I would still get my Texas. So it depends on the logic you want to use. If you say, okay, I want states that are not that being Texas equals to false, and then exclude those ones, and then automatically it includes the ones that returns true. But I can just easily do this. I don't have to stress. So now, next step is how can we add the next condition? The next condition, we can just also copy paste. Okay, what we can do is, I think KNIME doesn't accept the independent, so city, we can also say like hosting, then equal to true. So now we have two conditions. First, the state equal to Texas and city equals to hosting. Let's see if our code, yeah, good. So now we have the same thing we achieved here, we have achieved here. So this is for rule-based role filter, right? So of course, it depends on what you're comfortable with. I like KNIME because it's very, very flexible. If we are using the older version, then you cannot achieve this in one node, as far as I know. But let's proceed. At least now we understand what this processing things looks like. And let's see if we can continue to build workflow. But there is one problem. So think about we have more nodes attached to, for example, which we can also do. Let's say we want to do some graphs, we want to or let's say you want to filter for a certain region or something. So let's still use, let me see, let me make a graph, a plot, a scatter plot. Or I want to see, or we want to see, here I decided not to go into any complicated things, just to explain to us how we can play around with KNIME. And let's plot the sales against profit. Let's see, it's possible. Probably more sales would mean more profit, or let's say quantity and profit. We don't know. More quantity leads to more sales, or we can try to plot quantity against sales against quantity. And we need a plot, right? We need maybe a scatter plot. So you can just type keywords. Sometimes you don't even know what node is responsible. Just type the keyword. And then we can have here a scatter plot, as you can see, and you can drag it. So I'm going to delete this, do not show me, do not ask again. So I would continue working with the second node, right? Because it's still the same thing. I just wanted to show us how we can use multiple rules, the rule-based filter. It's a very important node. So let's plot. This is a plot. And here we have the horizontal dimension. So let's say we want here the quantity, like I said, and in the vertical dimension, we want the sales. And yeah, color dimension, no, because yeah, no color dimension. And the maximum number of rows. So this, if you describe, is numerical values that restrict the number of rows used for this visualization. So when you are visualizing in KNIME, be very careful because, like I said, KNIME wants a way it wants to optimize, or it's looking for the best way. Always look if the maximum rows here aligns with the maximum rows you have in your table. For example, after filtering, we see that we have here 377 for states of Texas and city of Houston. So it's fine. It's okay to leave that. If it's less than, you might want to increase it. And then you can title your graph, sales versus quantity. You can name it anything. And yes, that's all. We can click here to generate image. Always click here to generate image. Otherwise, it won't. So let's see what our graph would be like. Run it. Okay. Now you can right click and you can click on the output image. Oh, what did I do? Okay, I think I did the wrong thing for the horizontal dimension. Okay. Suddenly everything changed. Quantity, I remember, and sales. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's very interactive, as you can see. So even while choosing the variables, you still find, it's moving. And this looks particularly interesting. Looks like a bell-shaped curve with 6 being more or less centered. But I'm not sure because we also have it's kind of skewed to the left because we have 3 in with the highest peak somewhere around. Okay, this is not a histogram. Sorry, it's a scatter plot. Okay, my bad. So yes, let's run it, and we see that we have this kind of curve, right? It's a graph. It's a yeah. So, but particularly this graph is just for city of Houston and Texas. So what if we want, in a way, I don't always want to double click here and and edit this to change this to Texas and Houston or whatever. There are ways to define variables. There are ways to define variables that you can add as a kind of you can add some variables that flows along with this node. They are called flow variables. Maybe I'm not supposed to talk about that today, but I think maybe in the next class we can talk about that. But because I'm very particular about following this the content today. So we are done with sorry if probably we didn't do much of data exploration, but you can play around with it. And like I said, data analytics goes beyond just what I say. So it's what you feel, the questions you feel you want to answer. It's about your curiosity and, okay, what if I do this? Think about it from a business perspective. You understand? You can do a lot of things. Data analytics itself is just about how you interpret business, interpret business data. Profile. So, okay, you analyze the data, and in business terminology, this is what it means. You can use that to make nice propositions or solutions or whatever. So, but today we just want to focus on simple things, right? And it's not more than this. So let's go into, we have done filtering, sorting. Yeah, you can also sort data. We can look for the node, we can sort just right after now, and we can join and concat data. And I think we are done. So what is sorting? Sorting is, let's just go click on the sort. Yes, there is a sort node. I push this scatter plot. At a time, I think maybe next time or whatever, I will teach you also how to keep your workflow more contained, because when the node gets really huge, you don't want to always keep them. You want to structure it in a way that every group or every class of node belongs to one meta node. So you can shrink more than one node into one, and then it reduces, you find that you have lesser workflow, but we have more nodes embedded in some meta nodes, something like that. So let's see if we can sort some data. Yeah, just in this node sorts the rows according to user-friendly criteria. And yeah, it's just how probably you want to sort your data. Maybe you want to export this data. Someone asks you, okay, can I get, I want to just arrange this data, probably from the highest sales to the lowest, right? It's not difficult. You can come here and click on or let's say by profit. You can click on ascending or descending. Let's use descending with the highest in the main focus point. So here we see profit now has been sorted, 569.99. I don't know the currency. It's the highest profit. And then, down to, yeah, minus whatever. I think these are just losses or so. So, these are just, this is just for sorting. Yeah, we can also think about how can we export this data, or probably just as an assumption, we have done some of this pre-processing according to your business logic or idea, and then you want to get this cleaned data probably for something else or for some post processing, or let's say, let me don't use processing again. Let me say you want to, let's say, for some things, maybe you want to present it, or you want to send the information to a particular department or thing. So now at the start we read the CSV file, and now we have done the whole thing. Just as an assumption, we want to export. So to export, you can also just write CSV, and in fact, you can export your file in any format. I can decide to use Excel writer. It doesn't matter, and just ensure that your workflow is reasonable. Now I want to export this data, and this data you see, this sorted data is this is just the view. So what it means is that this is now the data I want to export. There are a lot of things you can do with KNIME, to be frank. I cannot mention all, because I've been using KNIME for quite some time, and every day it still looks like new. I like to use it as a first, more or less like a first solution to, to analyzing data. Yeah. Now let us export our Excel, our pre-processed file. Let's say I want to name it as sales or whatever. Processed, and just choose your folder and save. And here you have a couple of other information. Maybe you feel like, okay, if the file exists and maybe you mistakenly, something happened, and maybe by mistake, you click on, you try to re-execute the code will fail if the file exists. Or you want to overwrite it. I can say that, okay, since I want to keep doing the pre-processing stage, you can always overwrite. And you can also do a couple of settings here too. If you like. It's not, you can just play around with it, right? So when you run, if I go to my folder, I will find my new processed sheet here. So this is what we have done, and as you can see, for city of Houston and Texas State. So yes, this is just one, just an introduction to our first workflow, right? And I think it's not something complicated. So the last thing we are going to do today is to join and concat table, just as we would always do if we want to join tables based on some matching keys, like some keys, And I would use another data for this to achieve this, but yeah. So I have another data which I would also send or probably upload somewhere. I will share the link with you. The idea is, how do you join two tables in KNIME, in particular when these two tables shares the same information? There are some foreign keys that connect, two tables. And I have two data which I've done, which I've prepared here. We have two employment and department data. So it's a very small data. In the department data, we just have the department ID and the name of the department. And in the employment data, we have the name of the employer, the name of the employee, of every employee. Every employee has departmental ID. So how do we join this table? It's just the normal way to join table, right? Left join, right join, or inner join, or I think we already have. If we don't have, I would explain now. So let's still on this workflow. Of course, it's not as neat as I would expect, but you understand what I mean. So I will just leave it on this particular workflow. So let us read our Excel sheet. And as you can see, we have Excel files, and we can look for the Excel reader. So the Excel reader is just somewhere here. And we can read first the employee. Yes, just as you see. And then you can also do some transformation if you like. Integer, here is the local date. As you can see, it's the date of birth. We have gender to be string. Yeah, I think everything looks good. Hire date, the date of hire. Okay, and then we can run. And then we have our data. Yeah, so this is our employee table. Yes, our employee. And then we need another, sometimes I just like to copy and paste. You can copy a node and paste it. You don't always have to grab it from the node repository here. I like to do this because the path already might have been set. And here's the department. The department is, yeah, for the department data, I come here. I think it's just okay. We can run. And yeah, so sorry in the first part I talked about this summary statistics, but we didn't really go deep into what this the what this number represent actually. But because it's a toy data and we are not really focused on the core business interpretation of this data, just for us to have an understanding. So if you think about, I give you as an assignment or a task, you can think about from the business side. What do you think? And again, if there are ways you can also, try to, if you have no knowledge of maybe basic statistical measures or things like that, it would be nice to also understand to read about them. It's not difficult, so that you can interpret these numbers, or this measure would make more sense when it comes to interpreting. Okay, now let's join these two tables. And before joining, let's look at the two data. Let's see what they share in common. And I put this here. So I have here okay. And the second one, yes. So we have the department data, and we have the employee data to my right. So now we want to, or you want to combine these two data. And of course, you know that these two tables share similar information, which is the department ID here. Every employee would have a department ID, and we want to grab the name of the department for every employee from the department table. So in KNIME platform, now it depends on how you plan to join this. In the former class of my colleague, if we were able to join the SQL section, we did a lot of things on, on database SQL rather, SQL queries and things like that. Then you see also we can join tables by SQL, to the left join, inner join by a certain column. And yes, but in this case, we are not writing SQL code. Yeah. We want to join these two tables, that's all. And we want to left join. What it means is that we want to always retain all the employee information. And because every employee must have a department, then it makes sense to say, yes, that it would be an inner join, or whether left inner join, they would coincide, because I've not heard that an employee would have no department. So in this case, we expect to get all our employees, all the department name of our employees. So let's just go ahead to join. Or it's possible, because we are doing a left join, it's possible that some employees, there are some departments here that, or some of the employees here might not even belong to any of the department. But of course, our main focus point is the employee table. And then since we're doing a left join or inner join, then it's the case that they will converge. But I can show you a picture if just to explain what I mean by left join, inner join. Because I think I would like to to really explain what it means. So I like this table. Yeah, of course. So now forget about the SQL code. So think about you have two circles, and we have A and B, and then think about this circle A as a table, circle B as another table. What it means is that if I do a left join, that is, I want to left join A and B, I want to always retain all the information from A. You understand? So what it means is that for B, not every information might be in A, right? Those ones that are in A, or that share certain information with table A, would be joined. Then the ones that are outside of this intersection would be ignored. And this is typically what they call left join. But there are cases where even left join with like this can also, coincide with even inner join, or it's possible that every of B is in every of A. So in this case, you know that they will coincide, because you can find every information from table B in A. But in this case, and the reverse is just by the right here. We want to, right join. So think about the shaded part as the primary, or as the focus table. It is just the focal point. Yeah, it's just the focal point. And when you right join here, it means, okay, now I'm going from right to left. Here, I'm going from left to right. And here is also different. It's we left join, but also we don't want, no, I think here we just want information of A that are not in B at all. So you are doing a kind of exclusion. So if you're very familiar with the Venn diagram, this guy and this guy, it's more or less like complement. Yeah, let me just put it like that. So you're just getting the outliers, like the ones that, in this case here, and this case is just also the complement of this, and so on and so forth. And all of this diagram means everything combined. I want all of A and all of B. I want all the information. And this also is just the complement of this. These two, they're just complement. So this is inner join. Inner join means I want only rows that share similar information with A and B, right? So the intersection. And this means the complement. I just want A and B that do not share information. So probably if you can understand this kind of diagram, then maybe I believe joining things would make more sense. Especially, there are no better ways to explain this thing than to just always think about it in this way. So, well, if there are questions, you can also ask, so I can take more time to explain. Because I'm also doing KNIME, but the issue is not KNIME itself, but our understanding of what we plan to do in KNIME. So let's proceed. Now, in this case, if I would really want to go deeper or probably spend a couple of minutes to explain this point. Now, think about this employers table as the table A here. So, because the employer table is very interesting to me, you understand? I have the employer table, but there is no information about the department. The only information I have is just an ID. But of course, I cannot work with ID, right? Or I don't know what I don't know what these numbers represent. So I want the exact name of the department for every employee. And then there is another table that has this department ID and the corresponding department name. So that means I want for all of these employee, I want to look for information of every department ID of every employee in this employee table. If I find them, pull them over, right? If you don't find them, I don't care. Maybe they don't have department, maybe somehow, I don't know how to define they don't have department. Maybe they are not really, maybe they are external, or maybe yeah, it could be that they are employees that don't have direct contact with companies, maybe through outsourcing or third party, yeah, third party recruitment or something. So now this employee table is our focal table. And this is where we are looking for the information. So this is table B and this is table A. And we are working with this particular scenario here. This, I hope this screen is not too small to see. Yes, so we are working with this particular scenario. So what it means now is that I hope that I can find all the departments of this employee here. But if I don't, I really don't care because I'm left joining. Because of this shaded region, it means that all of A must be in my final table. That is the aftermath of the joining. I want all the rows in this employee table to be present, right? And for B, I hope we find all, but if we don't, still return everything. I will do something briefly before the end of the class, but if time permits me, then I can explain. But let's just go straight to the point because I've done a lot of talking and I think we can just go straight into okay, cool. So let's look for the join table. The join table is, we can find the joiner in Excel. Sorry, in KNIME. And then this is very important. Now, if you look, every node we have been working with, they all have one input node. But here we have two because of, the kind of task the table wants to perform. So because we need two tables to join from the image I've shown, you need table A or B. You cannot join one table with itself. That's duplicate. So now this first, you can see when you open your mouse, you see left table. Don't mix it up because this is strictly left table in this case. So since this is my employee ID, I will take it to the left. Oh no, I'll take it to the left. And this is my department ID, which is the right. I'll take it to the right. So please give me a minute so that I can plug my phone. My laptop. Yes, sorry for the short break. So now let's double click quickly and let's join our table. Now, this is the left table. Now, by what row ID do we want to match with by what column ID, which is the foreign key, we want to match with the right table? Excuse me. Here is the matching criteria. We can add, we want by the employment ID, and here by the what? No, not by the employment ID, by the department ID, and here by the department ID. And then here, now, if you do matching rows, it will do an inner join, just like I explained. Inner join means only the rows that share exact info that we can, so only the rows that match with the two tables. We don't want that case. We want left, sorry, we want left matching rows and left unmatching rows too. So I don't care. When I'm left joining, I want the matching rows and also the ones that doesn't match. So this case here means that if the employee department ID does not exist in the department ID, still return this employee's information. If I unclick it, you see that it's only doing here all employee department ID that I can find in the department table. So I have to click here. And then I click OK. And then we run. And now we see the join result. Everything is here. Now you see, now good. The good thing is, I think, yes. Now, if you look at this, if you look at the, no. Yes, the join result. Now, you see the department ID, you see the department name. Now we return and all the employee ID, but yeah, I would, in fact, not all of the employees, we can find their department. So I can also show you briefly. For example, where is the employee table? No, I want to see this department table. I'll put it to the left. And I want to see, no, not the, no. I want to see this. I want to see the result of the joint table. Okay, it's very big here. And then I also want to see, yes, quickly, and we are done. So now, if you look at now it's a bit strange. Because I find a department ID here of 3, and here I see engineering, but yeah. Oh, that's strange. Let me run. Let me see if I did the right thing. Maybe not. Okay. Give me a second, please. So I guess there is a problem. So because now when I do the inner join, I get I get this. As you can see, it matches 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. But then I'm a bit curious to know why I don't get the other ones. And then we have to look. Yeah, fortunately. Because now in the department ID, we have these individuals here who have department ID of 3, but here it returns nothing. Or could you be using it's strange. So, okay, I have to look. Maybe in the next class we'll talk about it because there is no time to really understand why this problem persists. This is the department ID C. And here also is the department ID. Yeah. Okay. So we'll talk about it next time. But I think from the left table, unless if I read the wrong table, yeah, it's correct. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we are. Oh, I think I made a mistake. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, normally by default, I'm not supposed to. By default, the criterion already is supposed to. I'm just supposed to use the criterion ID. So and then it was as if I was adding two criteria to criteria to criteria to criteria, and it was kind of misbehaving. Yeah, now it should work. Yeah, I went to re-add. Yeah, okay, now it works. Yeah, sorry for the yes, I didn't know that by default I would have to by default already once you click on the configure, you can just directly input um, your criteria. So here you see you don't have to add more unless we have more. Maybe you want to match two tables by two, like more than one foreign composite keys. I think in that case, you have two columns that the two tables share information by two columns. That is composite keys, more than one foreign key. So I think today we have achieved a lot of things. We have been able to build our first workflow, create a workflow. So I tried to give us a small exercise. After this class, by tomorrow or so, we would send this. I will send this workflow. I would export it, but please try to create yours. You don't have to use mine. Since you would have access to the video, create yours. The only thing you need is just the data, and you can do everything. Yeah, thank you very much. And I really hope we enjoyed the class. If there are questions, maybe for the next 2 minutes, I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, you can also still post it in the WhatsApp chat. Okay. I guess my friend Tayo is not available currently. So if there are questions, you can feel free to ask. So otherwise, we can end the section. Can anyone hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm done. Yeah, I hope we enjoyed it and we can also continue to play with it. Thanks a lot.
Yes, it was interesting, enlightening.
Thank you. Okay, looks like the host is is busy with something else. So I will close this section on his behalf. Thank you very much. See you next week. And yeah, if you have joined the WhatsApp chat, I think he dropped it or so yes, you can ask questions. I'll be happy to respond to questions. Please check the chat if so you can join the WhatsApp chat, the WhatsApp group, and we can also discuss more. If you have problems with your KNIME, you can send pictures or short videos and I will respond. Thanks a lot. Bye and enjoy the week. See you next week, Saturday. Same time, same place. Choose. Okay, the link has been posted one more time. One last time. All right, I will end the call in the second in 1 minute for those that have not joined the WhatsApp group. So you are able to join.
Yeah, like the email says, I don't think you don't have to register to download the software.
No, he's talking about cargo. He's talking about cargo. The data set. Yes, you have to. In cargo, you have to register. Just sign up. You can sign up by Gmail, your Gmail account. It's not difficult, very easy. But for the other two data I used to join the table, I can send that one even directly on the WhatsApp group. Very easy.